All right. Well, hello, everybody. We're back. I'm going to put the camera on me. It's been so long, I forgot how to do this. Just kidding. We're back for another episode of Option Post. It's been a little over a month since we've had a show last. Not too much going on, so we just kind of figured we'd take a little bit of a break. Today was supposed to be a, not NWSL, U.S. Women's National Team review / preview show. Obviously, we know there was no game yesterday, so the review part of that has been scrapped. But we will preview for the next game that's happening, and then we'll talk some. Don't worry, we'll touch upon the events that have happened over the weekend in Hawaii. We will most certainly talk about that. And then we're going to talk about just some NWSL trades. There's been a lot going on kind of in the off-season so far for that. So we'll talk about some of our kind of favorite or maybe not favorite trades that have happened so far. I'm here with the lovely Jen and Karen. Happy to have them back. So yeah, bear with us if there's like a little quote-unquote ring rust. It's been a little while since we've had a show. So bear with us, and we'll keep mentioning throughout the show if you want to join in at all, give us your thoughts. There were a lot of thoughts about kind of the events over the weekend with the game that got canceled in Hawaii, so please let us know how you're feeling about that. Hashtag WOSO Talk. And then also let us know how you feel about, what your thoughts for the upcoming game are. Like, what do you think some lineups are going, like the lineup's going to be, who do you think is going to do really well? What do you think the game's going to be like? And of course, weigh in, when we talk about the NWSL trades too, let us know, did we not mention one that you're really excited about? Just, chat with us, just because we like that. We like when people interact with us on the show. So, let's get into that. Normally, like I said, this is where we would do the review of the national team game, but we know we didn't have one, so we're going to move on to, excuse me, and my voice is kind of going, so forgive me for that. We're going to talk about some preview for the next game they play again on Wednesday against Trinidad and Tobago, who they're supposed to play on Sunday. So we'll start with Karen first. What are some of your expectations going into the game on Wednesday, especially considering that we thought they'd be going into the second game and they're not. So what are some of your expectations for that game?
It's interesting to me because usually you get that first game and then the second game rolls around and you're like, okay, well now they're settled down, they know what they're doing, and it's going to be a different game. But we didn't get a first game, so I have no idea what's going to happen, except that I do know that the U.S. is going to win. It's Trinidad and Tobago. But as far as TNT goes, I don't know what they're going to come out and play like. They might be like leagues better than they were the last time we saw them. We don't know anything about their training or how much they've played or I don't know anything about the players, if they've gotten any new players, any really good youth. So I don't know anything about them. And usually you get that first game to kind of get some sort of sense of where they are as a team, so I have no idea. As far as our team, I think we're pretty much set. The starters are probably going to be the same starters we always use, so I'm expecting a blowout, but hoping that TNT can at least get a goal, because that'd be good for them.
All right. Jen, what are some of your thoughts on the upcoming game?
I kind of agree with Karen that normally we have something to base the second game off of, and in this case we don't. But I think TNT at the end of CONCACAF really started to shine through a little bit. We saw them starting to get more experience and saw them getting more confidence, and I think that's huge. And I think being able to play the world champions is a really good experience for them. So I'm hoping that they'll use that to the best of their ability and just learn whatever they can and absorb as much as they can. On our side, we'll have 2 new call-ups in Danielle Colaprico and Rose Bell. So I'd like to see them get some time. I'd like to see maybe not our brand new call-ups, but maybe some of the other ones that were just called up recently.
Yeah.
Like Jay Hinkle, Steph McCaffrey, who was awesome. I'd like to see them play a little bit. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I don't necessarily know that I'll get that because, like Kay said, I feel like we're kind of stuck in our habits now. Like we're gonna see probably the same starters. If anything, we'll get like some subs in from the newbies. But I'm kind of expecting not as much of a blowout. Like not like an 8-0 blowout. Maybe like a 4-0 blowout. You know.
Yeah, I don't exactly know what the resolution of this has been, but I do know that prior to like having these games planned, traveling for these games, I know there was some like turmoil in TNT. Like I know they had a new coach or something like that. I don't know if Waldron has since rejoined them, but I know there was some kind of, again, disorganization from their federation where they had like sent him a plane ticket like the night before. He was supposed to be out there, so I know there was kind of a lot of stuff going on there. I know that there were people. I don't remember the exact player names, but like solid players on their team who had either not been called in by the new coach or there was something about someone was having treatment. I think in Canada, and there was like an argument of not an argument, but like a disagreement about like how she was going to get back to TNT. So I know there's been kind of a lot of stuff going on. So I don't know if we're going to see some of the players who were really like established and really some of their key players because I don't know kind of what's going on with that whole situation. I wasn't aware before the game got canceled. I wasn't aware of who actually had made the trip out, who was coaching, things like that. So those are all things that I know there's some information on. I just haven't, really been able to look for it. But things that we probably would have known, which I'm sure the team knows, but us as fans are probably like, what's going on with the team? But either way, like they're a team that I like to see the U.S. play because I really think they have a lot of potential. I just wish that they could kind of get their stuff sorted out with the Federation and things like that. I think that's actually holding them back, which is unfortunate. As far as our team goes, obviously we're missing some. We had some, player retirements at the end of kind of the last couple games. So, we're missing some people in the lineup, and we have had additional calls, which is great. But I think the injury to Megan Rapinoe now is kind of interesting because I think there's a lot of questions. Not a lot of questions, but that's someone that you would expect to have seen play, and probably start that you're not going to see play, unfortunately, because she's injured. But I think that definitely does change kind of the dynamics of the team and maybe what the plan had been going in could possibly be very different now. Not very different, but could possibly be different now. I would like to see, the people get some more caps, the youngsters get caps, more caps. Especially the new ones that were just called in, I'd like to see them get capped. Like Sam Mewis and McCaffrey and Hinkle also would like to see them get some more playing time because they all did really, really well in the playing time they got in October. So I think that would be really beneficial to see them have more time. I think, against, not disrespecting TNT, but they're probably a team that you can play around with that and get them more time against because you know that you should probably be able to score some goals on them and defend well against them. So hopefully that's what we'll see. Hopefully we'll see some experimentation with the lineup. Hopefully we'll see some of the youngsters get in there. I think it'll be good though. We were so kind of spoiled having the team play all these games, and then they've been off the whole month of November. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm having some U.S. Women's National Team withdrawal. So it'd be really awesome to see them back on the field again. I know I was we'll get to it in a minute, but I know I was kind of bummed when they didn't play, but totally understandable why they didn't play yesterday. But yeah, so that's that. For those of you who might be just joining us, please let us know your thoughts. Ask us any questions you might have. Hashtag RotoTalk on Twitter. Let us know what your thoughts are. We kind of talked a little bit about lineups in our little discussion, but this is different from who you think is going to start. Who would you like to see as your ideal starters? We'll go with Jen first.
I mean, it is still the victory tour, so I kind of expect to see maybe some of the same faces. I kind of think Hope Solo's going to go in again. Just hey, everybody wants to see him.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see Ashlyn Harris get to start back in goal. Maybe switch off with Alyssa Nair in there, just because it's the off season. Neither one of them are getting a whole lot of playing time in, especially with Hope having starting. Even the match in Orlando, Hope started.
And played the whole game, not even just started.
Yeah. I was trying to avoid remembering that.
Sorry.
I would love to see Crystal Dunn get a start. I love Crystal Dunn to death. I think she deserves every bit of recognition she's getting with the national team, so I'd love to see a start from her. And as always, Tobin Heath is my forever starter, so I'll always start Tobin Heath.
All right. Karen, any of your thoughts who you would look
Kelly O'Hara.
same as whether that's the same or different as who you think will start? What are some of your ideal starters?
I need Kelly O'Hara to start. I need her to start. Because I know during the World Cup she was like that substitute that all of a sudden Jill Ellis was like, I'm gonna start putting her in, and she kicked ass. I want to see her start though. I want to see what she does when she is out there for the start. Probably in midfield because Pino's not there, and we know that O'Hara is a bomb midfielder. As far as Crystal Dunn, I'd like to see her as well. Who else? Probably not any of the newbies as starters yet. I'd say they'd make really good maybe halftime subs or maybe a little bit after halftime. Because McCaffrey had such a ridiculously good game when she had her first cap. She got a goal and all of this stuff. I'd like to see her. But starters, I'm thinking it's going to be the same people. Probably going to be Krieger, Johnston, Brune, Klingenberg. Midfield, I'm expecting Brian to be in there. Tobin. I want O'Hara to be in there. I don't know. I'd like to see Alex Morgan play and score some goals. If Sid is ready, I'd like to see what she has. That's probably about it. As far as goalie, it's probably going to be Hope Solo, but honestly, I think Ashlyn Harris should be in goal for the start. And that's as a Hope Solo fan, so.
Well, we appreciate your honesty there, Karen. I think sometimes people, we all have our favorite players, and I think sometimes people just say, oh, I want this person because they're my favorite, which is fine. I understand that. I want Krieger to start. She's my favorite. That's great. But no, I would agree with that. I think I'm still not over Ashlyn not getting any playing time in Orlando at all. I'm still not over that. Mm-hmm. So I get it. Hope Solo's the number one goalkeeper. We know this. They have qualifying in February. I get that, and that's fine. But these are games that you should be playing your backup goalkeeper, especially your number two. I would like to see Nair get some time too. But especially number two. Come on.
Yeah.
This is the time to do that. You're not going to do it in qualifiers, so how about we get this going and give her some time? Again, like Jen said, they're off season, so they're not really getting that game time that everyone else on the team generally will get some minutes at some point, and it's helpful for them. Practicing with the team is always helpful. Yeah. But getting time is also very valuable, and other field players are probably going to get some times of these matches. So I think especially your number two, you need to give. This is the conversation I feel we're always having with everyone. You need to play your number two at some point. And I know people will disagree with me with that because they'll say other countries don't play their number two goalkeeper at all. But I think any team, when you have the opportunity to give someone extra experience and minutes, I think you should, whether it's the U.S. or not. So I'd like to see that. I agree with what you said about O'Hara, though. I'd love to see her play, where Rapinoe would play. That'd be outstanding. Yeah. And I don't think I want any of the new people to start. I could see them potentially putting Sonnet. I know Sonnet played. She, assuming is with the team again. I would like to see Sonnet play. She started, I think, one game against Brazil, but I'd like to see her get a start at some point. Maybe not this game, but I think if there had been a game yesterday, we would have seen her start probably this next game. But, again, we didn't get that opportunity. So I'd like to see the new people get in there. I'd love to see Mewis and Hinkle play more. Like, halftime would be swell. Same thing like with McCaffrey. I know Hinkle and Mewis got in kind of late when they played. And they were both very effective when they got in there. So I'd like to see them play more time. Like, put them in at halftime. Because I think with more time, than just like 10, 20 minutes, I think they can really see what they're going to be capable of, and that's really important moving forward. Excuse me. Yeah, so there's that.
Was it Hinkle that had to defend Marta, like, right when she got on the field?
Hinkle, I think, yeah. I think it was Hinkle. And she did
Welcome to the team.
Right. And
here's Marta.
She did quite a good job doing so also. That's why I think, she had very limited time, but was kind of thrown into that immediately and did a great job. So I'd love to get to see her have more time. Mm-hmm. Just lastly, before we kind of move on to stuff from this past weekend, is there anybody that you, either one of you would like to see get called up that has not yet? We'll start with Karen.
I mean, I'm always pulling for Keelan Winters, but that's just not going to happen. So I've kind of just put that one off to the side. But I'm always pulling for Keelan Winters.
All right. I feel like you're not alone there. I feel like a lot of other people are saying, like, hi, she's the issue. She's like the solution to some of the midfield, like central midfield or like concerns that people have about like holding midfielders and things like that. I think that she could fit into it. Yep, and I know that you're not the only person who thinks that, but yeah, that's a good call. Jen, anyone that you'd like to see get called that has not yet?
I mean, I don't expect them to play anytime soon, but Hope Solo's kind of getting up there. So I'd like to see some call-ups along the lines of, like, Michelle Betos, Kelsey Weiss. Let them get in. They're fantastic goalkeepers. Let them get in. Let them get some experience under arguably the best goalkeeper in the world before she does end up retiring. And then we don't have to worry about, oh, God, we're stuck with goalkeepers that, like, have never played on an international level before. So I'd like to see maybe some goalkeeper call-ups. Like I said, I don't expect them to get a cap anytime soon, but at least that way they can get into camp, get themselves acquainted, and we can start preparing for, retirements of Hope Solo, Ashlyn Harris down the road, Alyssa Nair.
All right. I would like to see, I guess kind of on that note, they did this, I think, in their, I don't want to know if it was their January camp last year or when, but at some point they did have like a big goalkeeper like kind of thing where they called up like 4 or 5 goalkeepers, and they never, like, they weren't playing games in, but they had them for a part of it. It wasn't for the whole camp prior to like when they started playing matches and things. They had the goalkeepers in, like young goalkeepers in for like a couple week or so, just training. I think I'd love to see that again. I think it's even getting to train with the senior team is just amazing, and a great experience that they should look into again. Even with field players too, not even just goalkeepers. Like I would expect, and maybe we'll see this in January, just some more call-ups, just at least for practice. Maybe they don't actually stay the whole time through qualification, but they at least have some training just to have that experience. So that's my thought. Hopefully, we'll see what happens in January when they kind of reconvene again and all that. For those of you watching, let us know who you would like to see called up or who you'd like to see get some time in these next couple matches. Moving right along, we're going to go there. We're going to go to U.S. Women's National Team in Hawaii. I'm going to kind of change the order of things here. Before we kind of get into all the stuff with the surface cancellation and all that, obviously we talked about a little bit earlier Megan Rapinoe getting injured. We also found out the other day that Rampone has had a bone injury in her knee, and she's been shut down for December. They just said she's done for the month. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Like, what? So I'll start with Karen. Like, what do you, as far as for, I guess individually and for the team, like, what is the impact of these injuries to these players at the moment? I mean, we don't know how much longer Rampone is going to be out, but we know Rapinoe is going to be out for quite a while.
Right. As far as Rampone, because we don't know how long it's going to be, I'm just going to, for the sake of argument, assume that it's going to be until sometime in January. And I think, honestly, that would allow for some interesting dynamics between defense and pushing in like players like Sonnet and other defenders, maybe Engen, and giving them some time. I mean, when Rampone had her last injury, that's when we discovered Julie Johnston, and that was quite the discovery. So I think as far as Rampone goes, it might be a blessing in a really nasty package because we all love our Cap. But yeah, I mean, when she comes back, she'll probably be back in the mid. But it'll be interesting to see how Ellis fills that spot, and I think it should be influential in a good way. As far as Megan Rapinoe, this is like the worst thing ever because she is, honestly, in my opinion, she is the most dynamic player on the field that we have. Let me pull up my notes. Hold on. It went away. That when she's having a good game and she's on, she makes the most ridiculous passes look easy. She's super unpredictable. She's like pretty much impossible to defend because you never know what she's going to do, not just with her footwork, like Tobin Heath has the footwork down too, but Rapinoe, you don't know if she's going to cut to the side and shoot from pretty much anywhere on the field, or if she's going to take the ball at you, or she's going to try and dribble in and shoot, or she's going to pass. You don't know what she's going to do. The way that she switches her speed and her momentum and her movement is just she'll be going this way and then she's that way, like in 2 milliseconds. It's amazing. So she's going to be a huge hole in the midfield for our team, and it's going to be scary. I don't know if there's anybody on the bench that's as mischievous as she is. She's like a little sprite out there, you know?
Heather O'Reilly.
yeah, okay. KO. I feel bad because I forgot about her again, and that makes me feel awful because she's amazing, and I love her to death, and she's definitely going to be a really good. I think that they should probably either put O'Hara or Heo in for Pino. I think that's probably Ellis's best bet. I don't know what she's going to do, but having no Rapinoe is a huge loss, honestly, in my opinion. I mean, she has her off games, but when she's on, it's like 2011 World Cup quarterfinal status. Like, so, yeah, it's a bummer. I'm sad.
Yeah, and I understand about O'Reilly. Like, she's grossly, I think, misunderused. That's not a word. Misused or underused. Which is understandable though when you have people who are doing well out there. But I think anytime she gets on the field, even if it's just for like a later stage of the game, she's out there kind of wreaking havoc. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Jen, what are your thoughts on both of these injuries?
I'm actually going to take Kay's stance on Rampone and apply it to both of them. Because Rapinoe took a serious injury. Well, not this serious. Not like, oh God, she might be out for the Olympics serious. But she did take a hit during the World Cup. And we saw, people like KO come in and fill in that flank spot and play amazing. So that was kind of a weird blessing in disguise too. So I feel like they both might be, but I think the impact for the team moving forward at this point is definitely more of an emotional impact more than like a tactical impact. Especially, you know, we're watching Abby retire right now. And Abby's not going to have the chance to make another connection with Megan Rapinoe. She's not going to have a chance to play with her co-captain again. And that's heartbreaking. You know, it's heartbreaking for us as fans. It's heartbreaking for them as players. I'm sure it's heartbreaking for Jill Ellis as the coach. Like, it's a circumstance that nobody wants to be in, but here we are, and that sucks. So, I mean, it's for me, it's more of an emotional impact because Rampone really, I love her. She will forever be Captain America in my heart, but she really hasn't played a whole lot since she did get injured and we discovered JJ. And Pino even. We've seen Pino kind of phasing in and out because of that consistency issue. So I definitely think it's more of an emotional, these are the veterans of our team kind of impact.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something that people are probably thinking and no one wants to say, but I'm gonna say it. Part of me wonders if this new injury for Rampone is weighing on her decision of whether to actually try to play to the Olympics or not. I'm not going to say necessarily that I think it's time for her to call it quits, but I know when people kind of asked her about coming back, she had talked about like if her body could hold up, if she could play, and you know she got injured and didn't really play a whole lot in the World Cup. She hasn't played a lot in the Victory Tour games, and now she's injured again. We don't know how long for, but we know at least for these last Victory Tour games she's not going to be in. You know, it'll be interesting to see if that weighs on her decision to continue to try to play through the Olympics. I guess it depends on like when she comes back from that injury, how she recovers from it. But I think for so long, you know, everyone thought, oh, like Captain America is like ageless. She still plays just like she used to. She's so quick and everything like that, despite her age and things like that. But you know, it kind of seems like it might be starting to catch up on her a little bit, unfortunately. So it'll be interesting to see kind of if she, you know, how she recovers and if she can stay healthy from that and kind of what her point in the team is. Like, yes, she will always be Captain America, but, you know, will she see a lot of playing time? You know, it's one of those things like, would she, you know, if she's not getting a lot of action. The way I see it, like, everyone has to make a roster. Like, I don't like to look at it like who gets cut. I like to look at it as who, I know, like, you guys kind of some feel the same way, like who is going to earn a spot. And it'll be almost interesting to see if she decides to pull the plug before potentially not making. It's weird to think that she wouldn't make an Olympic team, but when you have to make those decisions and you look at someone that's injured, and I'm not suggesting that like she wouldn't make a team, but I mean we're talking about, well, would Wambach make the team if she hadn't retired? So I think it's only fair to have that discussion about Rampone also. So that's really interesting. So I guess we'll have to see. I know I would be sad to see that, but you kind of have to look at, you know, do you want to go out kind of on your own terms and retire, or do you want to go, you know, not having playing time and not making a team potentially that people would have expected you to be on as Captain America and just a great player. So,
also she's had babysitters for her kids for like the last or whatever. So, or however old her kids are, they're like what, 10, 11. She's had babysitters all the time. When she retires, no more babysitters. And that's actually part of the emotional thing too. It's like those little girls have been with that team all of this time, and they're not going to be there anymore. And I'm like, oh, stop it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. I think they'll still be with the team. It's like one of those things where like the team is just like gonna permanently just suck them in, and it's just gonna be a thing. So
they're on the roster, and everybody's like, what?
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. And then, like, as far as Rapinoe goes, I think, you know, it is very unfortunate. She's now kind of in a situation where she's kind of racing to try to be back to the Olympics, and we don't know what's going to happen with that. You know, we'll see. I guess it's beneficial that the Olympics are a little bit later. It all depends on people's recovery. I know that when Krieger tore her ACL and stuff like that, and then granted, I feel like right now they're just saying Rapinoe tore her ACL, and Krieger did hers. She did her ACL, MCL, meniscus, and all that. And technically, you know, didn't recover in time to make the roster, but like had fairly recovered by then, having a more severe injury in a shorter time frame. Obviously, everyone is different in their recovery and their body. So I'm not saying that it's impossible for her to recover by the Olympics, but one would hope that having a little bit more time, the Olympics being a little bit later is a good sign. So hopefully she'll be able to, we'll see about that. But either way, I think it's a good opportunity to see who can fit in there. In the event that she's not ready, they're going to have to be prepared to have someone or multiple people who are going to be able to fill that spot. So you never want to see anyone get injured, but it's kind of an opportunity to see who will be able to step up and fill that role.
Yeah.
Here it is, folks. the moment we've all been waiting for. We're going to talk about, there's been a lot of talk about the decision to cancel the game, the quality of the field, what was U.S. Soccer doing? Should they have inspected the field better? There's been a lot of, I'm going to not fully start because I kind of like to go last, but there's been a lot of people who, are kind of trying to brush this off as not being a gender issue, a quality issue, and I'm a little bit annoyed by that. I do see the point, they converted the field, so maybe inspecting the field months in advance is probably not possible because it wasn't in its condition until, it wasn't in its condition that it was in. They widened the field for the game. So maybe it wasn't practical to be able to inspect it months in advance. However, I think the day before is a little bit ridiculous. I think even before that, there's been plenty of people who have complained about the quality of that turf, period. So, but we're going to just find out what you guys' thoughts on all of it. Kind of what happened, should you have soccer? Any of your thoughts. This is this category and rant section. Feel free to rant, whatever you want to say about this. I know we all have very strong opinions on kind of, the game being canceled, which I think we're all in agreement on, was it the right decision, but, kind of all the politics and, it's a lot bigger than just that game. So, we'll start with Jen. Please, give us your thoughts on this whole situation with the turf and all that.
Set it on fire.
Yeah. Pretty much. It's crap. This should not be happening. This is 2015. We have won our third World Cup. What is happening? It should not be a thing. And, turf sucks. I'll be the first to admit that. I play on turf sometimes. It's miserable. I hate it. It's the worst thing ever. You get, even without a serious injury, every time you play on turf, you get an injury. It wears you out. It's obnoxious. But beyond that, this wasn't even a turf issue. And some of the players were commenting on that it's not about turf versus grass in this case. It's just about, keeping the players safe. That wasn't even safe in turf standards. It was terrible. Hope Solo was lifting it up. That's not okay. If I can crawl under my playing surface, that's not good. So, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And, I mean, we saw that. Rapinoe's injury was non-contact. If you're having a non-contact injury at training, that's an issue. That should never happen on any level of the sport. It's training. Come on. So that's ridiculous. And I do understand the side of the argument that it's not a gender issue, but it's a gender issue. And that's just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. But I've seen how the process works. They do inspect fields. Again, maybe not months in advance, but in advance several times. They'll inspect it a month out, and then they'll inspect it, 2 weeks out, and then they'll inspect it the day before. And at each stage, they'll make sure that this field is, sufficient for professional athletes to play on. And these are professional athletes. Again, they've won the World Cup 3 times now. These are not just run-of-the-mill athletes here. These are professional world-class players who are out there playing on a surface that is absolutely ridiculous. And, I put a lot of the blame on that to U.S. Soccer for not going out there and checking the field. And do I think it would have been different had it been a men's team? Yeah, I do. And again, that's just my own personal opinion. I'm looking at what's going on in the rest of the world. You know, we had a guy in Dusseldorf the other day over in the Bundesliga get suspended for 5 games for telling a female referee that there's no place for women in men's football. You know, you see instances like that. She's the only female ref. First of all, she's a German. Second of all, she's a police officer. Third of all, she's a woman. That's like the worst combination ever to piss off. So, like, yeah, if people are willing to piss off German women, like, yeah, that's just not
smart.
Yeah, no. So the fact that there's such blatant sexism, not just in our league, but still worldwide, is really disheartening because we're seriously combating a global issue.
I'm gonna jump in real quick and just kind of, like, I think just the fact that no one, I think the whole venue as a whole, like, because Rapinoe's injury didn't actually happen on the Aloha Stadium, it happened on a practice field, which was still arguably the team thought was poor quality. So why did no one even look at the practice field where they'd be practicing and be like, oh, this isn't suitable for, even practicing, because, they weren't even on, like you said, it's not turf versus grass. They were on a grass field that they also thought was subpar, and, that injury unfortunately happened. So I think, there's like a lot of issues. I'm going to let Karen go before I get off on a rant again and get off on a tangent. So go for it, Karen.
Here's my biggest problem is I was already having problems when I found out about the quality of the field, when I found out about Megan Rapinoe's injury, and then when I found out about Rampone's injury. I was like, it's the field. That's exactly what happened. It's the field. It's a crappy field that they were forced to play on. Nobody checked the field. I was already having those thoughts. And then U.S. Soccer canceled the game yesterday, and their little announcement, it felt like the tone in the announcement was totally just like shitting on Hawaii, like the Aloha Stadium, and like this whole thing was there like, this is very disappointing, I'm shaking my head at you, you guys shouldn't be having this quality of field, blah blah blah. And it's like, no, I'm gonna stick up for Aloha Stadium because I talked to somebody who is very familiar with that stadium, who lives in Hawaii, and that is a very poor stadium. They don't have very much money. They don't have enough money really to make the improvements that are necessary. So if U.S. Soccer is so gung-ho about playing the games on this field in this stadium, what they need to do is they need to go in, they need to put the money down, they need to lay down grass or whatever they have to do, and they need to make it safe. It's not Aloha Stadium's job. It is in a small part, but they did what they could do. And U.S. Soccer did nothing besides show up a day before the game and go, oh, this is not okay. We're not letting our ladies play on this game, blah, blah. You know what? I'm really sick of U.S. Soccer. I'm sick of FIFA. I'm sick of all of these political, asshats just trying to put the blame on just about anybody but themselves, when it's totally obvious that they did this to cut corners. They did this because they were like, it's the women's team, it's a victory tour, totally ignoring the fact that it's a victory tour because we just won the World Cup for the 3rd time in our team's history. How many times did the men win the World Cup? 0. How many times did they get out of the group of 16? I think once. So
I'm not sure if that even happened, but yeah.
I'm not either. So I don't think anybody's really sure. So the fact that we have the men's team who has never played on turf this entire year, they've even had grass laid down for them 6 separate times. And then you have the women's team who not only has to play on turf, but when they actually do get to play on grass, it's the shittiest grass ever. I'm assuming that there were potholes, giant bumps. I've played on these fields before. I know what's there. I've hurt myself on these fields before. I've hurt myself on turf before. I've had turf stuck to my body for like 7 years straight now, like from playing one game, an indoor game on turf. So the fact that they are totally ignoring what everybody has been saying on social media for like years now about the inequality, it's blatant sexism. It's total sexism. That's exactly what it is. It's a bunch of dudes in their little suits deciding that the women were not important enough to make sure that the fields were safe. And it's not about turf, and it's not about grass. The field was not safe. Those pictures are disgusting when they're pulling it up, and you just, like, see, ugh. There's just, like, I think somebody had, like, a picture of, like, an interview, and in the back you could, like, tell. It was, like,
they had drawn arrows, like, here's the first coming up.
like the ground was like this. And it's like, that is the worst thing I can possibly imagine playing on. You could not give me, like, $1 million to play on that shit. And I'm just like, these women are the top athletes in the world right now. They just won a World Cup. And you're going to make them play on this? Are you serious right now? It's just like the most disgusting thing I've ever seen, ever, in the history of anything. I'm just disgusted. And I'm upset. And to the people who think that it's not a gender issue, bullshit. It's total gender issue. It's just the only people that I've seen doing that too are dudes that have like little EPL icons. And I'm like, all right, so you're a Manchester United / Chelsea / Liverpool / who are the other teams that are always up there, like Arsenal / Manchester City. Okay, all right, dude. Like, yeah, no, it's not a gender issue at all. You go ahead and watch your English Premier League and don't care about women at all unless you're talking about how they're bitching and complaining about turf.
Which is all played on grass, by the way. English Premier League, all on grass.
Yep, it's all on grass. I don't know if any of those dudes have even seen a turf field. Do you think if Cristiano Ronaldo had ever seen a turf field, he'd probably like lay down and cry until they laid down a little patch of grass for him? I'm just saying, the fact that these women have been playing on these crappy surfaces for years and years and years. The U.S. Soccer is supposed to be one of the top federations when it comes to equality between the men and the women. And if that's the case, good luck to like every other women's team in every other federation, pretty much. Because this is nonsense. And this is just, it's basically setting the precedent for the amount of work that there still is to be done when it comes to equality, gender equality in sports. It's disgusting that we still have this much to do, even when we've won 3 World Cups. Even when you have women's leagues like in Australia that are really, really popular, and England that are really, really popular. No matter how much the popularity of women's soccer goes up, the people who are in charge of the federations, of FIFA, of U.S. Soccer, everybody else, they're still staying the same. They're still sexist jerkwads. So it's like either they need to catch up with everybody else, or they need to get the hell out, is basically my opinion.
Mic drop, all right. So we're about the hat soon.
Not in here.
Oh, no. I'm going to try to, like, I'm trying to make this brief because I could talk about this for, like, ever and ever and ever. But there are many good pieces of, like articles, whatever, that were written about this. I'm going to just refer to one that had numbers that I liked reading. So we can tweet the link. It's from Stars and Stripes FC. It actually gives some numbers. It says, talking about the men between men and women, that the men played 20 matches on 2015, 19 which were organized by U.S. Soccer or CONCACAF, that they actually had control over. 15 of the 20 were played on stadiums with natural grass. The other 5 that were in stadiums with turf had natural grass laid down over the turf. Now, while I don't think that that's the best choice. Either it is better than playing on crappy turf. So I'm not really understanding why, again, for the men who, not to crap on our men's players, because, like, you work hard and try also, like, and I'm not going to crap on the men's team, but who are not the world champions, have never been the world champions, have had not so great, very little success in the World Cup. Why does I'm assuming the federation pays for that. The state, the venue's probably not paying for that. Like, why is the preference that, like, why is the default, we're going to play in grass stadium? Between 15 out of 20 games were on grass stadiums. Like, why is that not a priority for the women? And then the 5 that weren't, no one said, hey, guys, you're going to play on turf. They said, hey, guys, we couldn't get you in a grass field. You're going to play on a turf stadium. We're going to lay, not ideal, but we're going to lay this grass down over. Well, at least you're playing on grass. So if that, like, I guess accommodation, if you want to call it that, is made for the men 5 times, and they managed to play all 20 games on grass, some kind of grass, whether like actual grass stadium or grass laid over turf, why is it acceptable? And this is why, if you say it's not a gender issue, you're wrong, because look at those numbers themselves. The men played 0 games on turf out of 20 games. 0 games on turf. Cool. And the women, not only could they only get 2 of the games scheduled on actual grass, which, okay, if you're playing in December, depending on where you're playing, fine, but also, why weren't the December games in Florida somewhere? Like, there's grass. Just thought, or why are we not laying down, again, not an ideal option, but why are we not laying down grass over the turf at venues? Why are we not doing that? Because we did it for the men. These are the world champions. They don't deserve better than that. I'm confused. And again, people have been saying, the NFL plays a Pro Bowl on there every year. Okay, so here's some issues about that also. A lot of people decline their Pro Bowl invitation, number one. A lot of people fear getting hurt at the Pro Bowl, whether it has to do with turf surfaces or just the fact that they don't want to get hurt for a random game. They complain about the turf too, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be considered also, but you're talking, and as far as joint injuries and ligament tears and stuff like that, that could still happen in football games there, but you're talking about people who are in padding and equipment up the face rolling. I'm not saying they should have to play on crappy turf either. I'm not saying that at all. No one should have to play on crappy turf or whatever. However, there's a difference between I'm going to run around on this field and have heavy padding on and a helmet, and I'm going to run around on this field with no padding and no padding. That's just so for people. And then as long as the NFL keeps continuing going back there for the Pro Bowl, nothing's going to change with that surface. You're not, you know what I mean? If it's really that big of an issue, don't go there. That's, you know what I mean? But to say, oh, the women shouldn't have better turf because the NFL plays there, they don't have a problem with it. No, they complain about it every year also. Stop it. I'm just really disappointed in some people's responses to this cancellation of the game. I'm really just annoyed with people. And I'm not trying to crap on the fans either, but please, I saw so many tweets of, oh, I'm so disappointed in you, the team, you've lost a fan. It's not the team's fault. Please don't lose your support of the team because of this. Please understand that this was they felt they could not safely play on this surface, which was something that the Federation ultimately agreed upon as well. Wasn't just the players, it was the coaches as well. The Federation ultimately agreed, also. So, if that's, I understand people I feel for the people who spent money to travel there, who bought tickets there, who this was their only chance to see these women play, and they didn't get to. I feel for those people, and I understand they're being upset. But don't be upset at the team. Don't stop following the team because it was really not the team's fault. So that's, I guess, all I'm really going to say on it is that it absolutely is a gender issue. Just look at those statistics from that article on the amount of times the men played on turf compared to the women played on turf. Again, I don't feel like laying grass over turf is a great solution either, but it's better than playing on crappy turf. But we can't even afford that opportunity. And I get it also, like, you know, people say, like, well, the men's game brings in more money than the women's game, whatever. Like, still, that's, if you want to say that, fine, but, like, world champion maybe made it out of the round of 16 once, or maybe, I don't really even think that they did. Forgive me, I don't know necessarily the history of the men's team as much, but I don't know that they've ever made it past the round of 16. So, it's definitely a gender issue. It needs to be addressed and fixed, and, like, just cut it out and all that, whatever. Great. There it was. Karen, do you want something else?
Just like when you were talking about like their argument about how men make more money than the women's team, like obviously the men's soccer has been around since like 18 something. Women's soccer came around in like maybe the 19, well, like women have been playing soccer, but like actually making money playing soccer in the last like 30 years maybe. So I get it. The men's teams are going to be making more money than the women's teams, but just on the base level of things that they deserve to have a safe field that they're playing on. It doesn't matter if they're making as much money as the men's team. They deserve to play on a safe field. That's not a difficult thing. They're not a bunch of divas asking for manicures every day. Like, they're not asking for anything in particular. They just want a safe place to play where they're not going to tear their ACL or hurt a bone in their knee or whatever else happens, scrapes and crap all over their faces and stuff. That's all they're asking, and that's not asking a lot whether they make as much money as the men or not, really. So that's stupid as well.
All right, so we're gonna. I always love how I said this is gonna be a brief show this week, and it's not an hour later. But you know, it's fine. There was stuff that needed to be said. We had to get it out there. Yeah, it's gonna be a brief show or not at all. Really quickly, we're probably gonna do. We are gonna do shows talking more in depth about NWSL as the season gets closer. It's gonna be a thing, but we'll just to kind of keep time, like, you know, not any longer. Like, I'm gonna ask both of you, and I'll play also. There's been, since we've had a show about a month ago, there's been quite a few changes, trades, acquisitions. If you each want to talk about like any, you know, say like 1 or 2 max trades that have happened that you either like, dislike, are angry about, just give us your thoughts on, you know, a trade or two that have happened since we've last had a show that you have thoughts on. We'll go with Jen first.
I have a couple that I'm excited about, and then one that I'm really significantly not excited about. I'm really happy that Becca Moros is in Western New York, just because I will be close to there, so I can see her play a lot more now than I could when she played for Kansas City. But it sucks that she has to play with a staff that maybe is less than stellar. But then there's the Breakers, who took Libby Stout, which is awesome. I'm very excited that Libby Stout is going to be playing in Boston. And Casey Short was another one that I was really excited about. She got signed by Chicago again, which is awesome, because she's had issues with knee injuries. And when she played at Florida State, she was just phenomenal. So I'm really excited to see her hopefully get through season injury free and see what she can bring. I'm really, really, really upset that Angela Salem went to Boston. Like, I'm not cool with that. Like, don't send my Spirit people to Boston. What's wrong with you? Like, the only thing worse would be sending my Spirit players to friggin' Orlando. Like, that's not okay. Stop it.
That already happened.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it was her choice to go, though. Like, Angela Salem, I don't think, wanted to leave the Spirit. So, like, that's a different case. Like, don't force any of my players to go to Orlando. That's not okay. You're sending them down to, like, terrible, terrible lands of sunburn and
alligators.
Forests and alligators, yes, and old rich golfing dudes. Like, don't do it.
right. Well, there's that. I'm going to refrain from commentary on Orlando because we've still yet to determine whether I'm going to like Orlando or not this season. I guess we'll find out. I'm going to say probably not, but we'll see about that. For my own good, that might be what the decision is. Karen, do you have any trades or anything like any signings that kind of you have thoughts on?
Well, something interesting. We talked about this before we went live, but Monica to Orlando Pride. I don't know if that's official or not. I saw a thing about it, but if it is official, damn it. Because, you know what? Like, we were talking, I think it was probably the last show. I don't know, it was so long ago. But when we were talking about Orlando Pride and all of this, like, offensive power that they, like, pulled in, and we were like, nah, but they don't have any defensive power, ha. And now they just got Monica, and I'm like, no, please have one weak spot. But now they kind of don't, so that sucks a little bit. Besides that, though, I'm gonna go kind of for like the international players that have been sort of coming in.
Sure.
Because I'm a Seattle Reign fan, which nobody's surprised about.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm a Seattle butthead. But basically, I don't know how to say her name because I'm not Norwegian, but Melis? I'm so sorry, but I can't say her name, but she is so good, and I'm really excited to see her. I'm actually probably a little bit more excited than I was even about when we picked up, oh my god, I'm the worst person ever, I can't even remember her name right now. Danish. What was her name?
Vahey?
Yes, thank you. Oh my god.
This one is also Danish. Not Danish, sorry. She's
Norwegian.
She's Dutch.
Dutch, actually.
Yeah, Dutch.
Sorry, yeah, she played in Sweden. She's Dutch international.
I'm so sorry. She is not Norwegian.
It's all good. There's been a lot of stuff going on since we've had a show, so it's all good.
Fan of my team ever.
Nah.
Dutch player. She is amazing. I've seen her play every so often. Obviously not live because I do not live in Holland. But what I've seen from her so far has been amazing, and I'm really excited to see her come into Seattle Reign. I don't know if they have a date when she's going to start training or anything, or if she's going to start at the beginning, or if she's going to be like how Katrine Vi was, where she kind of just came in June or whenever that was.
Sorry, I'm reading. She's going to actually, pending, all the paperwork that has to happen, will actually be there before the start of the season. So she should be there the whole.
So that's going to be super exciting.
At least at the start of the season, she should be there.
Right. Because, I mean, the team has been kind of searching for somebody that can take Naho's place. And they do have Bev, who is great. But I think that this could be the answer. I'm hoping. So that'll be really interesting to see. So yeah, that's the thing that I'm the most excited about with the off season with NWSL right now. Obviously, it's my team, but yeah.
Oh boy. Well, the Flash once again. I don't know what's happening. And I really don't know what's happening. Becca Morris, like that's great. Like I think a lot of people are challenged that they're used to having Brittany Taylor being on the Flash, but Becca Morris, like I don't have a problem with that. That's great. Like good job. She's great. Like that would be wonderful. Whitney Engen, like I'm really just confused about. I guess I'm partially confused, like because she initially went to Chicago and we got Adriana Leone, which is great, especially because losing Jamia Fields and Jasmine Spencer, like we need help. Not on the team, but they need help in that regard, and They know they have some more defensive help with, and they got Abby Erceg also. My question, comment, concern, I'm concerned with all of this is that, like with getting more internationals, like if they make the Olympic team, like they're all gonna go, like they're all gonna be gone. They're all gonna be gone. Got another Canadian, cool. What I'm actually surprised about, because it's my understanding that in the past, the Flash haven't had a Canadian international for a couple seasons. Well, they do, but not like an allocated international. We have Sabrina D'Angelo, who's Canadian, but no, in the past have shied away from having like allocated players from. So that's really interesting that they, they took Leon. I think that's interesting, because what happens if she makes the Olympic team and they make the Olympics? Okay, you're gone. I don't really know what New Zealand's chances of making the Olympics are, but like, okay, Urseg's gone. She's the captain, so bye. We still have Michelle Heyman. What if Australia makes the Olympics? Bye, Michelle Heyman. The same thing with Colombia. I don't know what their deal is with the Olympics, but also like, bye, Lady Andra. Like, I'm just confused. Like, I also don't know how I know they got another international slot. They got an international slot, like in one of the trades, but I also feel like they have a whole lot of international players, so I'm not really entirely sure how that's working out either, because I feel like they have more. Well, I guess they can't have more international players than they have slots, but it does seem like they have an awful lot of international players. Unless one of the aforementioned ones are not coming back, which they've not announced yet, and I guess we'll see. I'm confused, because now they have one U.S. allocated player who I still don't think is going to play for the Flash again, being Sydney LaRue, so I don't understand. They always get shafted as far as allocations go, but now I feel like they're kind of shafting themselves, so I'm really a little bit confused, tiny bit confused about that, but, they'll do the thing, it's fine, we'll see what happens. One other thing that I am excited about is that, and if I have like the terms of this mixed up, my bad, but my understanding, Kioma Ubagagu, she was drafted by Sky Blue, went to play in England, she was played for Arsenal ladies. They traded her rights to Houston for a draft pick this year and draft pick next year. I'd be glad if she comes back and plays, and by if I mean it does sound like she will actually come back. They say her rights, but it does sound like she will come back and play for Houston. But she's someone who, watching the College Cup last year, I was really excited about. Like, she was really a great player, and I was actually surprised she was drafted so low in the draft. Granted, it was a great draft, but I'm surprised she was drafted as low as she was. And then when she opted to go overseas, I was kind of like, oh, it's a bummer. She's a really quality player, so I'm glad to see her. And again, part of me really liked Hearts Houston, so like I'm glad that she's gonna go there. As we did talk about last show, we all love how Houston kind of came into the league and were like the nicest people ever. So that's cool. But there's been a lot of other trades we didn't talk about. Again, just trying to like keep time in mind, and we will discuss all of this when we actually get into the NWSL shows that we're going to have. Probably after the new year, probably after the draft, we'll start off. I think the goal this year is to get them all in before the season actually starts. I know last year we were the season started and we were like, team preview, and it was like, well, the season's already started. But hopefully we'll get them all done before the season starts this year. That's the plan. Anything else you want to mention real quick before we kind of sign off? Either one of you?
Congrats to Penn State.
Yes. Oh, yes. Congrats to Penn State. That
whole thing.
I'll admit I didn't actually watch the College Cup final, but
I watched the second half.
You watched the second half?
It was really, really good.
And really awesome. Raquel Rodriguez scored the goal for Penn State. She's someone who has always been. She plays for Costa Rica. They got kind of a tough draft for World Olympic qualifying, but she's always been someone who's been great on that team. And they are mentioning that, depending on, she may potentially enter the NWSL draft, so she potentially could play in the NWSL, which would be amazing, please. do that and go to a great team. Not Portland now, who apparently, I'm going to just mention this, apparently everyone's going to Portland now. Like, Haran is actually going to come play for Portland now, which I think gives Orlando a draft pick in the first round, which, yay, Orlando.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about Adriana Franch is going to come play for Portland. So, like, everyone just recently, like, everyone's going to Portland now, which is really interesting. So,
Portland and Orlando are now stacked.
right.
And I'm like,
So please don't, if you play for NWSL, please don't let, like, Orlando or Portland draft her, because that's just bad news. But yeah, so on that note, yeah, congratulations, Penn State, rock on. And, like, to Duke, and for everyone who made it, you know, in the tournament, that's awesome. This is the future of the NWSL. Hopefully, they're going to be in the league. So, maybe a chance to check it out, you know, see if you can find some highlights, something like that. I know I'll be doing that. Okay, so that was, again, short show, an hour long, but, you know, big issue to talk about. We'll be back Saturday, actually, chatting about the game that hopefully actually does happen on Wednesday. We'll be reviewing that game. We'll be previewing the game on the last game on the 16th, I believe, which will also be Abby Wambach's final game.
no.
I know. We'll be having a review of Wednesday, preview of the 16th. So please join us at 6:30 p.m. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts about, you know, the show that you watch, thanks for watching. You can still send us your thoughts at #WoSoTalk. We'll be tweeting at you and stuff like that. If you had anything you really want to share or ask us questions or want us to talk about for next show, just let us know. On that note, thanks for watching. You know, Courtney still filling in for the Red Cap, but hopefully he'll be back at some point. And then we're joined by Jen and Karen. Thank you guys, and join us again Saturday at 6:30, and we'll see you then.
Bye.